ultimate fishing authority in the Northeast, the Fisherman magazine.
No guessing, just catching. New Explore Series fish finders keep you locked on fish with unbeatable clarity, best-in-class imaging options, and a stunning ultra-bright HD screen. There's more to explore, only with Humminbird.
It's Thursday, July 10th, 2025. I'm Jim Hutchinson, and this is your weekly video fishing forecast for the New Jersey, Delaware Bay region, coming off a beautiful Independence Day weekend. Great weather, and by all accounts, super conditions to fish, and with quite a few fish to boot as well. In fact, I've gotten plenty of emails already this week from Fisherman subscribers, readers, weekly viewers, and of course, then there are the buddies of mine who know that I'm sitting here at my desk. Tuesday, for example. My neighbor Bob is a retired fella who fishes for Fluke every single day with his wife Steph. So anyway, at 10:19 a.m. on Tuesday, he texts me and says, "Fish are biting." Of course they are, Bob. First of all, the fish are biting because I'm sitting at my desk and you're out fishing. Secondly, it does seem that Fluke have been turning on more around the turn of the tide. This seemed to be the first particular hour of the outgoing tide along this stretch and the upper stretches of Barnegat Bay. Now, at that same time, having fished from the wall at Manasquan Inlet for a couple of hours, another buddy of mine, Adam Aguiar, found the same thing. He's there for a couple of hours, but they just turned on around 10:30, just as Katie showed up. Katie Graham, she put on a little clinic for her boyfriend, Adam, showed him how to fish. But they found that the bite was pretty solid from 10:30 until about noon on the Manasquan, and then things kind of changed when the wind switched. I guess the tide was fully going out, and things sure got hot on Tuesday. That heat did not do, well, we'll talk about that later up there at Shark River. The point being, the fluking doesn't always, or the fluke don't seem to always bite. I mean, a fluke is always going to bite, but there are those times where they do seem to show those feeding patterns, those trends, where they go on fire for a little while. The patterns that we try to identify, like around the changes of the tide, for example, or a particular current. But right time and place is key to catching or getting into that bite. So you might go out for a couple of hours and say, geez, the fluking stunk today, but the hour after, that you left, that might have been when they turned on. It does seem that there are these patterns where the fish start to chew for a period of time and then slows down. One thing is for certain this time of year is that the incoming tides of summer will bring ashore a few exotics, seasonal visitors. This one was shot on cell phone video by Adam on Tuesday, a little guy taking cover amidst this floating branch. And I guess really you look at that with that little exotic there in the branch, that's why folks fish the flotsam and jetsam for mahi, because those little critters like to try to find a little bit of safety inside some of that structure, whether it's a floating log or a big piece of plywood, whatever it might be. But that's the case there. So anyway, what is it? If you take a look at that video, what is it? Adam and I were going back and forth, a couple of buddies of mine too. We think we have an idea on what that striped exotic is. But I would love to know your thoughts as to this particular species that you see in that video. So add your comments here on the YouTube page. We'll take a look at them, and maybe next week we'll get concrete evidence exactly what it is. But that exotic summer visitor there on the Manasquan Inlet meshes well with this week's digital edition weekly cover. Went live on Monday morning after compiling the holiday weekend reports. Do that every Sunday at thefisherman.com. But that's John Gibbon on the cover. With a Hudson Canyon tile fish. Yes, we're seeing tuna and tiles offshore. Inshore fluking, as you also see on there, is also heating up, as shared by all of you in the fluking photos that I received this week. We'll share those in a couple of minutes as well. The dreaded southerlies have arrived this week. We get that prevailing south every summer for a stretch. God, I hope it's not going to be like 2024, where I think we saw south every single day throughout the month of July. We'll look at that weather forecast in a few, help you fish through that south wind. But summer exotics are here. Now, in Nick Honachesky's weekly offshore, his weekly beach report, his surf report, he noted that low light hours are giving up resident stripers around some of the rock piles and jetties in the inlet areas. The inlet areas are also seeing more sheepshead, think from Barnegat south. And every day, we're seeing more and more of these exotics. We're seeing the triggerfish. They arrive every year. We're seeing small beasts on the surf line, the spot, the croakers. Finally, some kingfish are added to the surf mix. We mentioned the Spanish mackerel last week. Some bonito recently on the Miss Barnegat Light, so that's an option too. Hopefully more of those bonito come in shore, some of the bigger bonita. Tasty bonito with an O. The guys in Florida refer to false albacore as bonita with a feminine A. We're talking bonito, and they are tasty. And of course, there are some cobia around as well. In fact, Andy at Riptide Bait and Tackle and Brigantine reported on Tuesday that Mike S. here had a nice cobia behind the rock someplace. He was fishing a bucktail, pink shine gulp for Fluke, and hit that cobia. Again, it's 2 cobia per vessel, 2 per person right now, 43-inch minimum size. However, we do expect to see a bag limit change on cobia soon from 2 fish to 1 fish. Not sure exactly when that will happen, but I will be at Thursday's New Jersey Marine Fisheries Council meeting. That's July 10th. That's tonight at 5 o'clock in Stafford Township. I see it's item number 10 on the agenda for this meeting. So I'll let you know what happens in next week's video, which, by the way, will come from the floor of ICAST in Orlando, the muggiest place on earth. Now, I mentioned those southerlies this week. Prevailing summer winds here at the Jersey Shore. We've seen a bit of unsettled weather, obviously, this week, and the south winds have picked up a bit. But we are seeing a bit of south, southeast, and southwest on Thursday, Friday, and Sunday, according to the midweek inshore marine forecast from NOAA. But light easterlies are in the forecast for Saturday, which bodes well for folks looking to score some summer flounder, in my opinion. If you need some tips and tactics for getting around that south wind, my Minn Kota is great for doing that, because it doesn't matter whether I've got wind against the tide. I can typically motor up against that as long as my electrics are working. Don't ask me to explain that one. But Captain Scott Newhall has a great article in the New Jersey Delaware Bay edition, the July edition, on getting through those south winds. South winds blow. What do you do? Outside of the upwelling that really hit us hard last year. Hopefully we don't see too much of that, but his advice on how to deal with those southerlies, especially in those upwelling instances, it's all laid out in that July edition of the Fisherman magazine. There's also Sheepshead Tactics on page 14 by Qua Win, Soft Plastics for Largemouth by Tommy Melton, Jerry DeGennaro's humorous look at being married to Captain Dave, the fishaholic, and Nick Konicheski has July surf advice, what to expect this week when you're trying to fish around the badge checkers and the beach towels, beach chairs, the folks that are laying around and enjoying the Jersey Shore. I'll add to that the summer panfish opportunities are starting to catch up with us now at this point, especially farther into South Jersey. Manny Butera fished the surf at Stone Harbor on Tuesday around low tide with a combination of fish bite bloodworm tipped with a small piece of bloodworm. Manny said, quote, "It does the trick every time. Kingfish, croaker, and spot, it's what's for dinner in the Butera home this week." Find Fluke in the wash, and as bay waters warm up, they're going to be on those wrecks, reefs, and snags off the beaches as well. In fact, Nicholas Hess sent this photo to me this week. His good friend Luciano Giselberte was out at Axel Carlson with son John Carlos. Forgive me, I'll botch the name Smith if you give me the opportunity. They were out at Axel, and this is a nice fish for Luciano here. Got himself a true doormat of 10 pounds. So that's the first reported doormat that I've had emailed to me. But if you get that doormat status, 10 pounds or up, like Luciano's here, please email me, jhutchinson@thefisherman.com. You'll want to remember those doormats too, 10-pound fish, because you got the Dreamboat Fishing Challenge as well, the Fisherman Magazine's Dreamboat Fishing Challenge for subscribers. I think 13 pounds is the top fish in that leaderboard so far. Another quality 4th of July fluke came for Andrew Burby and his 2.5-year-old son. They were fishing the sticky stuff off Long Branch. If you know, you know. They caught their limit with this 27-inch, 7-pound summer flounder. Tops for the day. It was on a 6-inch gulp grub. Tops for the day is a 7-pound fish, but I'll tell you, if you have an opportunity to fish with your kids on a holiday, doesn't matter if you catch fish or not. I was looking over an article by Nick Honicheski that will come out in a few weeks about targeting fluke in the wash. Nick has the best advice. But Nick joined Shell Caris recently and did he was filming for the Saltwater Underground TV show that's going to come out at some point later this year, maybe in 2026. But if you've ever seen Nick or Shell Caris fishing for fluke, he loves using those jerk baits now in the suds. Which is pretty cool. You know, there's no gulp, there's no fish bites, there's no baits. He's fishing with artificial lures. Which brings me to another 4th of July weekend photo I received via email from Eric Lewandowski. It was on the final night of the holiday weekend, Sunday. He was at Indian River Inlet in Delaware, ended up with a triple, all on a plug, a bluefish, a striper, and this 4.8-pound summer flounder. Eric said it was a blue over silver wind cheater, retrieved very, very slowly. That got him that 23-inch fluke. Live spot, of course, they have been deadly on back bay fluke so far this season, and I expect we'll see more of those liveys deployed on the reefs, wrecks, and snags throughout the rest of the summer. Also the deep water areas of Raritan Bay and down off of Delaware Bay, the mouth of Delaware Bay and the old grounds, because those liveys work equally well off the beach as they do in the inlets and along the back bays. In fact, Live Spot, so many folks over the years have used them during the fall striper run, but they also make great tuna baits offshore. When you got those tuna in a frenzy, I know folks are flipping them around for big mahi out at the pots during the summer as well. So it might be time to start looking for those mahi as well. On the third installment of the Open Boat Super Fluker Challenge, Jenny challenges viewers to catch a fluke using live bait. I would recommend a big old fat minnow or Live Spot. She even shares some tips and tricks on how to catch and use her top 3 live baits for targeting fluke. Remember to join the Super Fluker Challenge with Open Boat. You can send your email to jackerman@thefisherman.com and be entered into this very special Open Boat Showcase.
Hey everyone, welcome to this week's Open Boat. Today we are continuing with the Super Fluker Challenge by unveiling the 3rd installment of catching your fluke, and we already did catching a fluke on a bucktail, catching a fluke on a teaser, but now, drum roll please, I'm having you guys submit your fluke catches caught on live bait. And I'm also going to share with you guys my top 3 live baits that I like to use for fluke and how to get them. Starting off with the cult classic Killies. Now, of course, a lot of these baits are available at tackle shops, so support your local tackle shops if they carry live bait, but you can get them yourselves with Killies. You can catch them in little minnow traps. You can put in some little breadcrumbs. They love to eat breadcrumbs. They love their carbs, and it bulks them up for big fluke too. And of course, there's a cult classic picture of me when I was very little at the inlet with a big fluke that I caught. Not on the Barbie rod that I'm holding, but I did catch it on an old conventional where we were using Killies to catch those big fish in a special hole at that spot that still stands to this day. So it's a very good spot when you have Killies, and fluke just absolutely devour them. So that's one live bait that you can get a doormat fluke on. Bait number 2 is sometimes I just prefer catching them before even using them for fluke is spot. I love catching spot at my local little docks and piers, and I use a sabiki rig, and I bait the sabiki rig with the Fish Bites bloodworms, and you cut them into little tiny pieces to fit on those little tiny sabiki hooks, and you drop it down and you wait. And what I do is I cut my sabikis in half, so instead of playing with 6 hooks, I only have to deal with 3 because those fish will thrash around and that just causes a big mess. But catching those little fish on a sabiki and a light tackle rod and reel are so much fun. And If you catch spot, sometimes they can be like pretty big. Like some guys use them for stripers and even tuna, so they do get big. You know, if you're using it for fluke and you get a fish on, that's a big fluke because they're swallowing that whole spot. So you could guarantee a doormat when you use spot for bait. And the last bait that I like to use, especially when I'm fluking off the beach, sand fleas, little tiny sand fleas. If you saw the video I did a couple weeks ago where I went fluking off the beach, the sand fleas were washing up. I had a fluke spit up a sand flea after I caught it, but they make a great live bait for fluking off the beach. I mean, obviously, you know the expression match the hatch, and that's one thing I recommend. When you're fluking on the beach, look at your surroundings, see what's being washed up, because most likely those fish are feeding on it, not just fluke, but resident stripers. They're feeding on the sand fleas. And then when you're off on the boats, cut open those fish that you just caught, look in their tummies and see what they've been eating too, so you can match the hatch for your next trip out. But just like the other two super fluker challenges, you're gonna take pictures of your catches, email them to me, and then, you know, let me know what you caught them on. If you didn't use a live bait I mentioned, maybe you're using live shrimp, let me know. As long as it's a legal live bait to use, let me know what it is. And hopefully, with this fluke bite heating up, you still have some months to go through. I hope to see some big fluke submissions. I have seen some big ones sent in from the bucktail and teaser categories, but now that we've opened up to the realm of live bait, I'm looking forward to seeing some doormats. So thank you guys. I will catch you on next week's open boat, and good luck fluking.
For more than 20 years, anglers everywhere have come to know one thing, that nothing says no to fish bites.
Now it's time for the Dreamboat update. We had an entry from Long Island subscriber John Rotondi of Brooklyn, New York, weighing in his porgy of 3 pounds at Bernie's Bait and Tackle, placing John in the top spot in the porgy category. So the leaderboard stands at a three-way of 17 points each, with Jeffrey Harrison in third place, Thomas Luciano placing second. Still in first is Rashawn Williams taking that top spot. Are you the best angler in the Northeast? Well, now is your chance to prove it. The Fisherman's Dreamboat contest is back. Win this Steigercraft center console powered by Yamaha along with these other great prizes. Fish hard and weigh in as many of these species to be top on the leaderboard. What's the catch? You must be a subscriber to the Fisherman magazine. All it takes is one fish on the board to win a great prize. So however you fish, you have a shot. For all the details and official rules, visit thefisherman.com. Dave's on vacation, so I'm filling in. It was a slower week in the Coastal Kayak Clash, but the few fish that hit the board made for big changes on the leaderboard. Newcomer Rotha Nog made his big debut with a category-leading tog at 21.25 inches. Dustin Stevens continued his dominance with a second-place porgy measuring at 16.5 inches. The top of the leaderboard now looks quite a bit different. Larry Newman now holds third place with 3 points. Tom Howard drops to second place with 6 points, and Dustin Stevens widens his lead to 9 total points. Hey kayakers, the Fisherman's Coastal Kayak Clash contest is back. Win this fully outfitted Hobie Mirage Lynx kayak from Yak Attack along with other great prizes. Catch and release as many of these species to be top on the leaderboard. To enter, you must be a subscriber to the Fisherman magazine, fish from a kayak, and document your catch. Many chances to win great prizes, so get out there on the water now and fish hard. To be part of the action, you must be a subscriber and register at thefisherman.com.
Congratulations, Brandon Weil. Weighed in a 10.1 pound sheepshead at Tight Lines Bait and Tackle in Summers Point on July 2nd. Brendan was using 4-pound Andy tournament line, which should earn him a new IGFA line class record for sheepshead. I mentioned sheepshead before, pretty much from Barnegat south. That's where you want to target the jetty rocks, the bridges, the old rubble piles, the lights, and the day beacons. I've found personally when targeting sheepshead in the Little Egg Great Bay area that slack tide was always best for me. You get good action. Those fish are moving around the structure a little bit looking for baits. If you have that Minn Kota, that one-touch spot lock, helps you put yourself right on the spot. And I mentioned Barnegat because I know some folks are catching sheepshead along the jetty rocks at Barnegat Inlet. The longtime state record for sheepshead was caught at the Causeway Bridge leading from Manahawkin directly into Ship Bottom. And I know that we've seen some sheepshead along the Point Pleasant Canal, but I still haven't caught one. So if I haven't caught one up in the upper stretches of Barnegat Bay, they can't be there, right? Kayakers, of course, are doing quite well herding sheep. Mike Velez said he headed south this past Saturday morning after stopping at Gabriel Tackle and Brick, first for some bottom sweeper jigs and some sand fleas. Mike said he fished the outgoing tide, caught 4, kept 2 for the table, left them chewing. Well done, Mike. Learn more about sheepshead fishing in that July edition of the Fisherman magazine. Qua Win, bottom sweeper jigs, secret rigs, crab selections, gear choice, everything you need to know about targeting sheepshead in South Jersey this summer. There's a cool image that I thought too from his Humminbird unit of side scan showing where those sheepshead are sitting in the bridge structure, so it'll let you know kind of what they look like if you're using that side scan technology. We'll take a look at the offshore forecast for the weekend ahead from the Hudson to Baltimore and check out some of the upcoming events in New Jersey in our region. But first, let's head west. We'll go to Stroudsburg, PA. That's where George has set up for his Pocono Outdoors Guy report for the week.
Well, hey, Jim, what a difference it makes when we finally get a nice stretch of good weather, despite having a holiday weekend in the middle. You know, I was afraid with all the crowds out fishing it would be kind of terrible this past weekend, but a lot of guys did check in with a couple of really nice fish. Here's a couple examples so you can plan for the upcoming weekend. We had Zach Crum checked in. He was over here fishing the Broadhead Creek, not too far from here, and he was throwing a fly, a nymph actually, and got himself one beautiful tiger trout. You don't see them too often. He did manage to successfully release that fish. Also, we had Chris Hutchinson. He was down in our southern areas. He was getting into some crappie on that hidden little fishing hole of his. Some great work there, keeping away from the crowds. Also, Jersey Jen Wan checked in, of course. He was over in Jersey finding some of those beautiful largemouth pretty much wherever he goes. So there's always some good bass fishing this time of year, guys. Up on Wallenpaupack, Will Grouper checked in again, as always, with some nice striper. He's been getting them pretty consistently now, so that striper bite is on. Wallenpaupack, Beltsville, Raystown, Nockamixon, anywhere you want to go for those stockies, they're doing really well. And let's not forget the Delaware River. Our good friend Tim Keeber checked in. He's getting to some of those stripers as well. They're hanging out all season, so you'll pick up stripers here and there throughout the whole season, guys. Don't forget there's lots of catfishing on the Delaware. There's catfishing in these lakes. Beltsville, you got white perch. I remember a couple years ago we were out trying to walleye fish and couldn't even get through the white perch. They were so thick, so lots of good fishing there. Lots of options this time of year, guys. Just be sure you get out and get on them. From Pennsylvania, I'm George, your Pocono Outdoors guy.
In the famed waters of Panama awaits a fishing experience like no other. Tropic Star Lodge welcomes anglers to get in on world-famous fishing action. Plan your perfect trip today. Tropic Star Lodge, the ultimate in fishing adventures for more than 60 years.
Tuna and tiles, that's what our local canyon runners are finding on trips east out along the edge. I also got an email this week from Joe Bazzelli showing off one of several yellowfin he got over the holiday weekend aboard Win the Day out of Sea Isle City with Captain Bob Roman. Joe said, quote, "Sterling tackle, wide tracker, and chains have been excellent. Get you some." Little unsettled offshore during the middle of this week, but it's laying down quite nicely as we head into the weekend. That according to the midweek NOAA marine forecast for the Hudson to the Baltimore Canyon. Friday through Sunday forecast shows light winds and 3 to 4s, which should be good for those of you looking to score some tuna, especially those out this week fishing the South Jersey Yacht Sales Offshore Showdown. That's going on today through Saturday. Other events of interest that you'll find in this week's digital edition calendar. It's also in that July edition, the calendar of events. You won't find a calendar of events like this anywhere else, trust me. I pay a lot of attention to this. If you've got an event, by the way, you got to email me. I'm always scrubbing the internet looking for various events, but email me, jhutchinson@thefisherman.com, so we can list you like these events in our calendar of events. Saturday the 12th, you have the 3rd annual Doormat Derby hosted by Off the Hook Marina. You also have the 32nd annual Ladies Catch of the Day fishing tournament presented by the Women's Club of the Forked River Tuna Club. The Sunshine Foundation hosts their 28th annual fishing tournament and family fun day on Saturday the 12th, with the captains meeting on Friday at American Legion Post 493 in Little Egg. The Sandy Hook Bay Anglers, they're hosting their 43rd annual 2-day Fluke tournament. It kicks off on Saturday. That captain's meeting is on Friday at the Senior Citizens Building in the Atlantic Highlands Harbor, the municipal harbor there. And then, of course, you've got Quest for the Rings, the championship week in Atlantic City out of Farley State Marina at the Golden Nugget Casino. That big offshore event runs from July 13th through the 19th and is presented by Coach Jimmy Johnson. Go Birds. The festivities there get underway on Sunday at the registration there at Golden Nugget. Now, ladies, moms, a special treat available to you from the New Jersey Division of Fish and Wildlife. Their Sisters Afield program at Sedge Island behind Island Beach, that's next week, runs from July 18th through the 20th. You can immerse yourself and your child in New Jersey salt marshes. You get hands-on activities and instruction, back bay fishing, kayaking, clamming, and a lot more. You'll learn the importance of salt marshes, but best of all, you get to experience that Sedge Island magnificent experience that not too many people get to enjoy. Details at njfishandwildlife.com. You can also email Liz at hofnod, HOFNOD, at dep.nj.gov. Now, the state is also running a fly fishing workshop for largemouth bass. That's in August. But the application deadline for this one is July 27th, which says to me that they're going to have limited capacity, so you want to get on that right away. You can go find that at njfishandwildlife.com or email, ready for this one, njfishingur3@dep.nj.gov. Now, again, I mentioned tonight, Thursday the 10th, we've got that New Jersey Marine Fisheries Council meeting at Stafford Township Firehouse. We're going to find out more about the Cobia bag limit, and perhaps someone will shed some light on why the inlet bridges in this state, notably Manasquan and Shark River, are constantly closing without any notification during the middle of the summer. As some of you may be aware, perhaps you were stuck on a party boat off the beach for hours or couldn't hop on a charter. New Jersey Transit locked their Shark River Bridge in place for 7 hours on Tuesday due to extreme heat. Now, as reported by New Jersey News 12, quote, the shutdown left some boaters unable to return to the marina for hours and forced businesses to cancel reservations, costing them tens of thousands of dollars. Now, here's the fact, folks. Sources told me that there was no notification, no official notification from anybody in the government, nobody at New Jersey Transit, nobody called the captains and said, hey guys, we're gonna have to close this bridge. No, somebody on the inside, somebody who knew what was going on, somebody who didn't have the authority to do so, but knew enough to do so, called the captains offshore and said, hey guys, we're gonna close this bridge at 1 o'clock, you better come in. And thank God they did, because boats couldn't get through the inlet bridge from 1 o'clock till 7 p.m., 6 hours. Again, this has been my point for 7.5 years now. It's not about Democrats and Republicans. It's about the fact that this administration doesn't even think about recreational fishing. It's an afterthought. I mean, God knows, if you know you're going to close the bridge, there should be some type of notification system, official notification system, to let people know that you're not going to be getting through what's supposed to be a navigable inlet. We'll end on a humorous note. This week, Philly Billy at Charlie's Bait and Tackle relayed this story from the Independence Day weekend. It happened right before. A customer had stopped by to buy a gift certificate late on Thursday. for a guy who found his Apple Watch. Now, apparently, the guy was surfing at Normandy and lost the watch. But then, I guess he's looking online and he saw that it was still on. The Apple Watch was pinging 2 days later from Bayville, which is when this guy's wife got a message saying, hey, I have this Apple Watch. Do you know whose it is? So the owner, the surfer that owned the Apple Watch, was reunited with his lost watch and gave a Charlie's gift certificate to the fisherman who caught the watch on the top hook of his teaser rig a mile up the beach. And that, my friends, is all the news that we have to report this week. Now, next week, I mentioned it before, Jenny and I, along with Dave Anderson, our New England editor, and Matt Broderick, our Long Island editor, we're going to be at ICAST. That's the big tackle manufacturing show in Orlando, Florida, where the humidity approaches 175%. Luckily, we'll be indoors most of the day. But when we come back out of that, what we're going to do is find all the latest new gear, tackle, lines, rods, reels, whatever it might be, electronics, and we'll be running 2 weekly videos starting in about 2 weeks. And that'll take us all the way through the end of 2025 and into 2026. So make sure you check those out, because these are all the latest new product offerings as they hit the stores. A lot of new products are coming out this summer. Some new items are coming out in the fall. And then a lot of this stuff is going to be released in 2026. So we'll start sharing those videos in 2 weeks. But next week, I will be broadcasting this video from the floor of ICAST, or maybe my hotel, wherever I get the chance. But that's what will happen as we come to you from the Sunshine State. Just remember what I always say when the cat's away. Catch him up, my friends, and I'll see you out there this weekend.